We have staff that is going to be in person. We have staff in Texas and the Philippines. We all get together to meet, go through our numbers, KPIs, go through some weekly learning, planning, and budgeting. The fact that we can all get together, get on the same page, make sure that we see the same thing, and then understand the plan going forward is so valuable in the business, and it's something that I started 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. So we are going to do our weekly team meeting. All right, so normal, we're gonna do KPIs, but I'm gonna do weekly learning today. So I wanted to bring up something that I taught, I think 2 live events ago, but I think it's good to review. Essentially, it's the question of like, why are we here? What are we trying to get out of it? We all live in this area, so we understand there's a lot of people that make a lot of money that are fucking miserable. I remember saying to myself, it seems like the more money they have, the more unhappy they are. It was the first time in my head, I'm like, okay, maybe there's something else. When I taught this before, we basically said like, what would make people fulfilled or happy or like their job and their work? So we're gonna talk about work. What we find typically is that it's 3 things. Number 1, I accomplished more than I thought I could. Number 2, I was treated with respect. And number 3, I did work I was proud of. I think at the end of the day, what that actually means as I look at it is I feel significant in what I'm doing and I've made change happen. Like any organization, we are not perfect with any of this, by no stretch. It's something that we have to be aware and work on. However, a lot of the things we do intentionally here are meant to attempt to fill some of these buckets. When we do Core Values Champ, it's about helping people to see where they've done well. When we do appreciation, it's speaking to the things that the person who we appreciate, whether it's at work or out of work. If you look at someone like that person's happy, one of the main things of that usually is what? It's usually gratitude. And so when you can appreciate other people and have gratitude for them or for a situation, you're going to generally be happy. Let's break it down a little bit and talk about I accomplished more than I thought I could. As I thought about that, I go back to last week in the conversation we were having about Instagram, Kaylee. As soon as we started talking about it, my brain immediately went to, I call it like an open loop. And the loop that opened in my brain was like, this is really good and it's not good enough. And they're both true. The statement of I accomplished more than I thought I could requires us to recognize that we're not doing good enough. Gone the other way means that I never feel adequate. Understanding that I've accomplished more than I thought I could, you have to be able to live in both worlds, where what we're doing now, it might be good, it might not be, but it can be good. And it also means there's so many other ways that we can go about it. The other part of that, all of us in our lives, whether it's personally or with our peers or our mentors or our coaches, that requires someone, typically another person, to push you. We all need to be pushed. When someone tells you you're not doing as good as you can, it should open a loop for you to help you recognize that I'm not doing as good as I could. And when I get to the next step, I will have accomplished more than I ever thought I could. The more that we can embrace the idea, someone telling you it isn't good enough, someone telling you you can do better, someone telling you you're not pushing hard enough, is actually the only way that you can achieve that fulfillment that you want at work. The problem in this situation is that many of us are afraid to have those conversations with others because we don't want to criticize, we don't know if it's our place. But again, if we go back and say that I want to know I accomplished what I thought I could, it's almost a prerequisite. So the thing that you don't want, the thing that you hate, the thing that's uncomfortable is usually the thing that you would be most proud of later on. Number 2, I was treated with respect. And I think that in this, if we're talking about like just being disgusting, like it's not about that. I'm talking about like, what does actually respect mean? And I felt respected. When I thought about this, what I was really thinking about was what is self-respect? Like what is self-respect in the work context? And the thing that I keep coming back to in terms of self-respect is that, am I giving myself a chance to be successful? A lot of times if you had your heart broken once, you don't like give yourself the next time as much because you're afraid. There are a lot of people that like don't push themselves in their work or in their sport or whatever. They mentally always want to be able to say, I didn't give it my all. Wherever you are or whatever your job is, it's to do the best you can with what you've got. Even more than being proud of yourself, it's saying like, this is my circumstance. This is currently where I am. And my only job is to give myself the best chance to have the success and not, leave anything on the table. I am very convinced every single person on the call in this room, from a work standpoint, all of you guys are more than capable to accomplish absolutely anything that you've ever thought of and more. If there are things that are going on and you do feel stressed or you're not fulfilled or you're not clear on what has to happen, if everything was perfect in your personal life, how would you be taking it? And then the third thing is I did work I was proud of. The nice thing about what we've created here at Strive and in the coaching program, if you get to a point where you're not proud to be here, it's probably time to find find something else. The impact that we have on people's health, on people's businesses, on people's family. I mean, you guys have heard it and I've heard it. Like people come up to me at these events and say, listen, you helped my business, but you changed my life. And you have that same effect here in the clinic. You have the same effect here with the work that you're doing. All of us should make sure we stop and look at that and look how, and you should be proud. The story that I've heard, JFK, the president, he went to NASA and he walks in the door and there's a guy, the janitor, he's sweeping the floor. What do you do here? And the guy goes, I'm helping send someone to the moon. With the idea that like he was sweeping the floors as a janitor, but his job was so important that that was helping someone go to the moon. You're helping someone get out of pain in a way that they're fucking lost. You could have an opportunity to change someone's life. I was talking to a client yesterday. He was asking about the sales process. And I said to him, I said, tell me, why'd you open your own practice? Like, this is fucking risky. There's a lot to it. Like, why? He goes, I had a guy. His name was Jim. And he came with a hip problem. And I saw him about 8 to 10 times. At the end of it, I never heard from him again. He was between coming to us conservatively or going for surgery. And I knew that if I would have had more time with him, that if I could have implemented my exercise, that if I could do all of that, there's a very good chance that he wouldn't have surgery. That's that story. And we all have some version of that. At every step of the way, when we are doing the dumb bullshit or whatever, things don't go well, just remember, why are we doing it? Again, the review, I accomplished more than I thought I could. I was treated with respect, but really have I respected myself that I treat myself with respect. And then the third thing is I'm doing work that I am proud of. Let's go with KPIs. Let's get right to it.
Okay, so for the reporting week for Strive leads, we're at 34 out of 60 that's off track. 11 were online. 1 was gym trainer, 2 referrals, 2 past patients, 5 event leads, 11 Instagram, and 2 other.
Leads to DV, we have 12 DVs, so 29% off track. Month to date DV to eval, 10 evals out of those 12 DVs, 83% on track. Month to date evals to plan of care, 6 evals, 7 plans of care because we did include second and third packages. So for a total for the month, we're at 9 right now.
And then from there, how many plans? Like regular plans?
7 regular plans.
Okay, good. All right, keep going.
So at the reporting week, last week we were at 8 planned cares. Now we're at 9. Going to the gap conversation, we got 3 upcoming evals. Of those 3, we expect 2 out of 3 to book. So that'll bring us to 11 planned cares total. The gap becomes 2. We have 2 second planned cares that are potentially going to book. We'll be at 12 planned cares, so the gap comes to 1.
Okay, good.
For marketing units, we had 48 units, which is on track. 2 of the ads were under $1 per profile visit. 1 of the ads was just over $1.
So active mastermind, we're at 76. Biz 101 is 15 and CRM is 41 with the week 3 calls for Biz 101 on track.
For the Strive email, we have 40% open rate out of 45 and then 0.6 TTR out of 0.8. So off track. Google ads, directionally correct, but still off track. 219 CPL, we wanted 200. Last week's 370, so.
Couple things that I'm looking at. Go back to the leads, Hannah. Have we figured out with the 11 online where they're coming from?
Well, that's Google and website. So we talked a lot about Google, that it was pretty off track for the majority of the month. So we made some of those big changes.
But I'm sorry. In terms of the 11, the split.
I don't know the split off the top of my head.
Do we? I think we should start reporting that. That should be part of it. Because I know I've asked a few times. So let's make sure that that is in there just so we can see our SEO work versus our AdWords work. What do you think it is?
If I had to guess, oh man, it's been a weird month. I mean, normally I would say like...
Pause. On average of the last 3 months, macro, if you're looking at marketing,
60-40 or 70-30, you can Google website.
Okay, so in my head, that's 60-40, 70-30 SEO.
Yes.
If I came to you and said we're starting a practice, what do you think it should?
Should versus one, I think are going to be very different. Google probably should produce higher volume because we have a little bit more control. Like I can do actual tactical things and expect X amount versus SEO is a little bit more out of our control. I do believe that historically the people that end up on the website, whether they took the journey of seeing us on ads, which we track now, right? So if they saw us on ads, then got to the website, they've consumed a lot more, they've become more familiar with us, they might be more likely to convert versus somebody who just straight up found us.
What's our spend right now on average?
$2K on Google.
$2K, and then we're spending like, let's call it 15.
Yeah.
So I would look at this and say, yeah, I agree with you because let's just assume that we were paying for the service of ads. Then we're saying it's $3K a month on ads and it's $1,500 SEO. And so net 60-40 at least, it should be that.
Google's going to produce more volume, but we know they're a little bit more challenging to convert, whereas SEO is a little bit less volume, but they've been a little bit higher volume.
It's not like you do SEO and it works or doesn't work. It feels like to me it's infrastructure being built.
Yeah.
While we're talking about this, I just want to note that the total leads in the reporting period were 34. 11 were the online that we just talked about, but 11 were also Instagram. You had 2 evals and 2 of them booked. So that if we didn't have Instagram right now, it'd be a real shit show, is basically what we got. Amazing.
And proud of that work. But again, so the next level of the conversation is, I just had this conversation with Rachel, as I look at the business now, it goes into understanding that where do we put resources, whether it's like we talked about Sophia potentially being in DMs. Well, why are we doing that? We're not just trying to fill her schedule up. We're saying like, this seems like something that really works, so we should probably dedicate resources to it. And then the next step beyond that is like, oh, do we need a person to do that? In any business, you're always looking at like, what horse can I ride? It won't be forever, but like while it's going well, you should ride the horse and dedicate resources to that horse. I don't want that to be the culture here that KPIs are off track. I want to create a business on track. And so context is important. I would rather say, because of schedule and whatever, that our goal is going to be 10, right? Then say 13, but we couldn't fit them anyway. Well, then the goal isn't 13. Well, good. Let's start with low-hanging fruit. You're out for a week, right? You're out for a week. Okay. So that would be ridiculous to think that December we're going to hit 13 plans of care. I'm assuming you're also not going to hit marketing units in December. And so we would just expect from a budget standpoint that we're going to be low as fuck. The next question, again, logistically, if you guys say we want the revenue to still be where it needed to be, then we've got to start making decisions that November we might have to put more hours. We might have to work a Saturday.